Okay, welcome to the tutorial here on how to write an effective essay. This is created in conjunction with the Columbus essay, really. And basically the goal of this is to explain to you all the different parts that you need to include in an essay, and then give you the opportunity as we travel through this PowerPoint to actually start revising it too. So don't be afraid as we go through this to push pause and actually work on your essay some, and then push play again as we progress on to the next portion. First off, why and what? Well, writing is very important. It's never going to go away. It's a skill that is essential at all points of life, whether it be something as simple as writing an email or whether it's something formal like filling out a job application and writing a cover letter, let's say, for that. Now, anytime you write, one of your goals needs to be clear. Really, it should be your primary goal. You want to make sure you know what you're writing about, what you should be writing about, and then you want to make sure that you convey that message as clearly as possible, because that really helps to make it so that people will listen to you. Now, in order to do this, there are a few things that we're going to look at today. First, organization. Second, strong support. So it's actually what the content is that you're trying to write about. And then third, the ability to transition smoothly. I'm sure you've read something before that's very choppy and it feels like there's a stop sign after every sentence. We want to avoid that as much as possible. Now, let's start off with a sample high quality essay. This one is a make-believe one, but we can survive. This one is based on the idea of Mr. Wilson, hero or villain. Here it goes. Mr. Wilson is clearly the greatest hero in the history of the universe. One reason that he is so heroic is that he has saved the galaxy on numerous occasions. He first did this by keeping the evil Mr. Core from assigning too much science homework that, if passed, could have disrupted video gaming for all gamers for up to 1 week. Another example of him saving the galaxy was when he halted Mrs. Nancy and Miss Smith's attempts to change around AT to PSSA math in ELA time. He did this by building a state-of-the-art gymnasium with his bare hands and then subliminally forcing the principals of the school to establish a new Panther Time schedule that included clubs and free reading days on some of the other days in the rotation. To go along with his galaxy-saving endeavors, Mr. Wilson also helped to create modern technology as we know it. After creating the first computer by mixing together some of his old rusty tools with a special alloy created in his basement, Mr. Wilson then developed the internet, iPads, and most importantly, the Super Mario Kart series for Nintendo gaming consoles. Saving the world and creating better lives for all, Mr. Wilson's actions show him to be a real American hero. Okay, now that's goofy, but it actually does sound like a pretty solid essay, aside from the fact that a lot of the facts are made up. How can we actually get to that point of creating a high quality essay? First, we need to get ready and think about what we actually want to do. In other words, we need to brainstorm. You like it too, right? Okay, when we brainstorm, we need to figure out what the focus is. So what are we actually trying to accomplish in the essay? The prompt for your first essay of the year, and this video can be used throughout the year as well, so it's not just about Columbus, but we'll use this one since it is our starting point. The prompt is, in essay form, explain why you feel that Christopher Columbus was either more of a hero or more of a villain. In order to actually write about this, we need to pre-write. So organize your ideas. Think about it. What is it that makes him more of a hero? What is it that makes him more of a villain? Which side are we on? And then let's write down a couple ideas that fit along with this. Now, what should be included in your organization? Well, let's talk about the actual organization once you have your general ideas thought out here. First, we need to organize the essay. And hopefully it doesn't look like this in the beginning, but if it does, we can really pare it back. So we need to look at the topic sentence. Your topic sentence is very, very important because this is what leads the reader into understanding what you're talking about. So you have to make sure that you're very clear and that you do specifically state what your goal is. Now, let's give some examples here. Which one of the following sounds best for an essay on Wilson, hero or villain? Would it be Mr. Wilson is a very interesting person? Mr. Wilson is a hero? Mr. Wilson is clearly a hero because he is really cool, or Mr. Wilson is clearly the greatest hero in the history of the universe? Well, let's talk about each one. First off, you want to make sure that you clearly state your positions. These are some characteristics of a high quality topic sentence. You need to clearly state your position and connect it to the correct topic. The first sample that we have up there, Mr. Wilson is a very interesting person. That doesn't really state a position, because could a villain be interesting? Yes. Could a hero be interesting? Yes. So it doesn't really state the position that we need. So that one is not a good sample. Second, is it creatively written? Just saying Mr. Wilson is a hero, well, it does state your position, but it's not very creative, so we want to get a little bit more creative than that. Third, you need to make sure that you avoid unequal emphasis on details. This is the trickiest guideline that I'm giving you, in that sometimes people will write in their topic sentence something that leads in only to their first detail. I don't want that. That's not a good practice, because your topic sentence is basically saying, look, in this whole paragraph, in this whole essay, here's what I'm going to focus on. And if you only have the first detail in there, it makes it so that your emphasis is a little bit confusing. So try to avoid only including one detail. Either include all of your main ideas or none, and I would probably suggest the none aspect. So when we look at it, which one is our best one? Our best one here is Mr. Wilson is clearly the greatest hero in the history of the universe, because it's stating a position that I'm the greatest hero, and it's a little bit more creative by adding in the history of the universe. Maybe it's a little bit silly, but hey, it's something creative and it definitely states your point, and it makes it more interesting for the reader. Because remember, if somebody reads the first sentence of an essay and it sounds boring, that's not a good sign, because people do tend to judge a book by its cover. Well, and by a cover being the first thing they see. Second, organizing your support. Whenever you start putting in some details to support that idea that I am a hero in this essay, let's say, what are some things you need to consider, and why are we really looking at this? Well, first off, why do we do this? Well, strong support is needed. If you're to say Mr. Wilson is the hero, is the greatest hero in the history of the universe because he just is a hero and because he's like, yeah, really heroic, anybody who reads that's going to say, well, that doesn't mean anything. You could say that about anybody because there's no facts to back it up. So we need to make sure we have facts. And you also need to make sure that they are organized well. You don't want it to be confusing where the reader's kind of bouncing back and forth saying, wait a minute, what did he mean? You want to make sure it's very clear and that it's very well organized. The way that we want to do this is you want to make sure that you have a main idea that you're trying to use as support, and then you need to support that main idea with facts. It might sound confusing, but here's an example. Our topic sentence is, Mr. Wilson is clearly the greatest hero in the history of the world. Our first main idea is that I was heroic in saving the galaxy on multiple occasions. So you can say that's one reason to say somebody's heroic is because they saved the galaxy. Definitely true. Now, how do we know that that's actually true that I saved the galaxy? Well, now I'm going to give you two examples of that. So what we're really doing is we're saying here's one reason that I'm a hero, and then here's support that that actually is true. So I can say one, stop Mr. Core, and then also stop Mrs. Nancy and Miss Smith. So there's one example of it. Another example that makes me heroic is that I created modern technology. So what are some supporting details for that? Well, I created the world's first computer, obviously not true, and invented the internet, iPads, and Mario Kart. So those are, again, specific, concrete examples. Whenever you write an essay, think about it. Do I have enough of these? Well, look at your own. That's something you really do want to consider. And then lastly, so we have a topic sentence, we have main ideas, supporting details, we have a few of those, and you should have a minimum of 2 main ideas. 3 is probably better, but 2 will be sufficient for this right now at least. The last thing we need, though, is a concluding sentence. What should that look like? Well, let's check it out. Concluding sentence has almost the identical rules as the topic sentence. You need to clearly restate your position now. So instead of introducing it, you're now kind of wrapping it up, but you do want to have your position in there very clearly. You want to have some creativity, and you also want to avoid unequal emphasis. So don't say Mr. Wilson is a hero because of his inventions when that was only one of the 2 main ideas, because I did also talk about the idea of saving the world for Mr. Core and the other teachers. So again, let's do some samples here. Which one's best? Mr. Wilson clearly is a hero to the world. Mr. Wilson clearly is a hero to the world due to his awesome inventions. Or saving the world and creating better lives for all. Mr. Wilson's actions show him to be a real American hero. Well, for me, I could accept either 1 or 3. 1 is a little bit less creative, no doubt, but it still gets across the point and it has a little bit of creativity. Just adding in clearly to the world, those 2 parts, make it a little bit better than just saying Mr. Wilson is a hero, right? Again, not as creative, but still okay. What's the problem with the second one? Mr. Wilson clearly is a hero to the world due to his awesome inventions. Well, that's exactly what I talked about before. That's unequal emphasis, because in this case, I'm talking about inventions only in the conclusion when that was one of 2 main ideas. I did not mention the heroic actions of saving the world and for Mr. Core and the other teachers. So think about it. And by the way, what you should be doing at each step is looking at your own and saying, hey, do I have this? If not, let's try to fix it right now. So push pause, come back whenever you're ready. Now, when you're done with all your content, you have it organized, you know what you want to say, all that good stuff. Now you need to make sure that you're transitioning smoothly. Um, so how is this for an essay? Like, how does this really work? Let's look at this one right here. Mr. Wilson is clearly the greatest hero in the history of the world. Mr. Wilson was heroic in saving the galaxy on multiple occasions. Once he stopped Mr. Core from giving too much science homework, which would have disrupted the entire galaxy. He stopped Mrs. Nancy and Miss Smith from causing all of the school to be PSSA prep. Mr. Wilson created modern technology as we know it. He created the world's first computer. He invented the internet, iPads, and Mario Kart. Saving the world and creating better lives for all, Mr. Wilson's actions show him to be a real American hero. So basically in this, what I used is the same topic and concluding sentences as previously mentioned. The only difference is that instead of really kind of making it sound really nice and smooth, I just basically put in fact, 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 fact. So when we look at this here, I have the same starting out to a lot of words. I have Mr. Wilson right here, Mr. Wilson right here starting, Mr. Wilson right here starting this one as well. And then if you look at it, I have he once, twice, 3 times right there within 4 sentences. That's not ideal, right? So when we look at it, basically every sentence in this entire paragraph starts with Mr. Wilson, or he invented, or he created, or he stopped, right? So that's not something that we really want to have here. So think about that as you go through yours as well, because that does seem like there's a lot of stop signs here, right? So let's add in some transitions. One reason that he is so heroic is that he saved the galaxy on numerous occasions. So instead of just saying he is heroic because he saved the galaxy, say one reason that he is. That helps to keep it connected here. He first did this by, again, we're connecting back. If you really want to look at what I'm doing here in a simple manner on a way to transition, I make it so that the first few words of each sentence connect back to the last sentence. So it says, he saved the galaxy on numerous occasions. I could just write, he kept Mr. Core from assigning too much homework. And if I did that, it would be good factually, but it doesn't connect back. So what I then wrote is, he first did this by, which connects back. Another example. And I'm saying another example, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you right here is that wording. So for this sentence here, I wrote another example of him saving the galaxy was when he halted Mrs. Nancy and Miss Smith's attempts. Previously, I just written he stopped Mrs. Nancy and Miss Smith. Right here, adding the another example makes it again another well transition because it's connecting back to the previous ideas here, which is what we want to do. And then right here, to go along with his galaxy-saving endeavors, Mr. Wilson also helped to create modern technology as we know it. So instead of just stating Mr. Wilson also helped to create modern technology, I'm adding in this nice little transition here where we have to go along with. So again, not to say that this is the best writing in the world, but it's just a simple example of a way to transition. So take a minute here, look at your own essay, and be critical. Do you think it sounds like there are a lot of stop signs, or do you have it well connected to the previous sentences? Now, let's put it all together here and let's think about all the steps. First, determine your focus and brainstorm. So we're going to think about it, we're going to put down some ideas, not necessarily write it out in essay form, but maybe you can start putting some arrows and saying, okay, I think this could go here and this could go here. So we have to do a little bit of a pre-write. Second, create the framework for your essay. Now we're going to put everything into its specific locations. Topic sentence, conclusion, and then all the main ideas and supporting details in between that are all well organized and nice and neat and easy to follow. Third, we need to work on some smooth transitions to make sure that it doesn't sound like there's a stop sign after every sentence. And fourth, and this is the new step, proofread. Read it aloud to yourself. That's the best thing you can do because when you read an essay aloud to yourself, you might find that you have some mistakes that are pretty easy that you can fix. Plus, when you proofread, make sure that there aren't any spelling mistakes. And even if there isn't an underlined squiggly, make sure that you're using the correct spelling of a word. For instance, there, if you're saying it was their house, don't spell it T-H-E-R-E, that would be T-H-E-I-R. So, little things to think about as you go through your essay. Then, if you're happy with it, turn it in. There's a video that I have on the next, just right below this, that'll tell you how to turn in using Google Docs for the Columbus assignment. But just make sure you take your time here. And remember, writing is a process. It's not a one-and-done thing, and if it is, then that means you're probably making some mistakes along the way. So try to address them ahead of time so you can turn in the best quality product possible. Alright, there's our tutorial here on how to write an effective essay.